Welcome to the nuSpine Neuromuscular Reeducation module. For this module, you will need a yoga mat, a towel or a pillow, and a chair. The purpose of this module is to begin to reprogram the muscles and sensors surrounding our spine and hips in different functional positions. There may be a few exercises in this module where you will be in a kneeling position. Make sure you add extra padding or support underneath your knees so that you're not placing any extra stress or strain on your knees as we're starting to work on our hips and our spine. For the first exercise in the neuromuscular reeducation module, we're going to lay flat on our floor with our knees bent and our feet flat on the floor. Let's go ahead and take our towel and place it between our knees and squeeze our knees together just gently. The goal of this exercise is to activate the muscles of our pelvis as we begin our breathing pattern to warm ourselves up for the future exercises. Place your right hand on your stomach and your left hand on your chest, and let's take a deep breath in through our nose, lifting our chest and our stomach equally. Then exhale through the mouth, bring your belly button back down to the floor. And inhale, lift up towards the sky. Exhale through your mouth, draw your belly button back down to the floor. Inhale, hold at the top. Exhale through the mouth, relax at the bottom. Great work here. Let's keep going. Inhale, lift. Exhale, relax. Keep a nice gentle squeeze with the towel between your knees. Inhale, lift off the ground. And exhale, lower back down to the floor. Go ahead and reach out and take your towel out from between your knees and place it behind your head for support. Place your hands down by your side for this next exercise. We're going to take a deep inhale through our nose, then slowly lift our right foot off the ground. Hold for a second, then exhale, lower back down to the floor. Then inhale, lift your left leg. Exhale, return to the floor. Continue at a nice comfortable pace. You'll notice that David slightly lifts his foot off the floor, making sure not to tilt his pelvis or create any stress on his low back. Trisha's lifting her foot slightly higher in a more advanced version. So inhale, lift that foot, lower back down, tap down to the ground. And slowly lift and lower. The goal of this exercise is to begin to prepare our spine for unilateral and bilateral movements coming up. Lift and hold. Lower to the floor. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. One last one. Inhale, lift. And exhale, lower down to the floor. Now we're going to complete a more advanced version of that exercise. Bring your heels closer to your hips and prepare for an advanced bridge. So lift your hips off the ground as we did previously, except this time lift your right foot off the ground, hold for a second, then lower to the floor, then lift your left foot off the ground, hold for a second, then lower to the floor. Now lower your hips back down to the ground and rest. Great. You'll notice that David is completing the modified version of this exercise. He's going to lift his hips off the ground just slightly, and instead of lifting his right foot completely off the floor, he's going to go up on his toes, and then lower that heel back down, and then go up on his left heel, lower back down, and then he's going to lower his hips back down to the ground and rest at the bottom. Great work. Trisha's completing the more advanced version of this exercise, where she completes a full bridge, lifts her right leg completely off the ground to a nice comfortable position, lowers back down to the floor, lifts her left foot completely off the ground, then lowers back down to the floor, and then lowers her hips back down to the ground. Make sure you complete the version of this exercise that best suits you and doesn't cause any extra pain in your lower back. So lift your hips, march with one leg, keep the hips lifted, march with the other leg, notice those muscles turning on, and then lower back down to the floor to rest. Continue at a nice comfortable pace here. Lift your hips up off the ground, hold and squeeze those glutes while you lift your right leg off the ground and lower, and you lift your left leg off the ground and lower. Lower your hips back down to the floor and relax. For this next exercise, we're going to start with both feet on the floor, and everyone's going to complete the modified version. You'll notice that David slowly brings both his knees to the left, making sure not to twist too far, and then brings his knees back to neutral, and then slowly brings his knees to the right, and then brings it back to neutral. The goal of this exercise is to activate the rotational muscles of your low back while making sure not to cause any extra pain in your lower back. Gently go from side to side, feeling those muscles turn on with each rotation. You'll notice that Trisha is completing the more advanced version of this exercise, where she starts her feet in a tabletop position, both feet off the floor, and then goes from the right to the left, making sure to activate both sides of her spine and not feeling any pain in her lower back. Gently roll from side to side and feel the muscles in your lower and upper back turn on as you roll to each side. Rest in the middle if you need to take a break. Continue in a nice, smooth, controlled pattern, going to the right and then returning back to center. Go ahead and roll off to the side and come up to a tabletop position. Take your towel or pillow and place it underneath your knees for support. Make sure you have even weight distribution between your knees and your hands, keeping your arms and your shoulders relaxed, and tuck your toes underneath. Now we're going to shift our weight and lift our right hand and our left leg off the ground, and then return back down to the floor. Continue that same movement. You'll notice that David is completing the modified version by just gently lifting his left knee and his right hand off the floor. By shifting weight into our right knee and our left hand, we're activating the different muscles surrounding our spine. Trisha's more advanced version is challenging her balance and challenging the muscles in her lower back. Continue one last one. Shift your weight, lift your right hand and your left leg, and return to the mat. Now we're going to switch to the other side. So shift your weight and lift your left hand and your right knee gently off the mat and return down to the floor. Be careful not to twist your back or arch from one side to the other as you lift your legs and your hands off the floor. Lift your left hand and your right leg and create length through your back. And return. Lift, create length, space, and stability through our back, and return back down to the floor. One last one here. Lift and return. Now we're going to transition to our modified and full planks. For the modified plank, you'll see that David comes down onto his elbows, drops his hips to the floor, and slowly takes a deep breath in through his nose and exhales. Trisha has come up onto her hands into a full plank position and is continuing that same breathing pattern. Now they both return to their starting position. Take a rest here and then transition back into the plank of your choice, drawing that stomach in, taking a deep breath in through your nose, exhaling through the mouth. Inhale, exhale, and return back to the mat. Take a breath, relax those muscles of your back and your arms. One last plank here. Get into your position. Remain nice and strong through your core. Create a nice straight line from the top of your head to your toes. Hold here, remembering to continue to breathe, and then returning back down to the mat, relaxing your muscles and taking a break. Go ahead and place your towel off to the side and grab your chair and place it behind the mat. Come to a seated position in the center of the chair with your feet shoulder width apart. For the modified version of this exercise, David will keep his hands on the chair, and for the advanced version, Trisha will keep her hands on her knees. We're going to slowly lean our chest forward, feeling the muscles in our lower back activate, and then return to neutral. And then we're going to slowly lean back, feeling the muscles in the front of our stomach activate, and return. Continue going back and forth at a nice controlled pace. For extra support, keep your hands on the chair as David is, and to increase the demand on your muscles, keep your hands on your knees as Trisha is doing. One last one, leaning forward, returning to center, and then leaning back and returning to center. Great work. Now we're going to go from side to side. So lean over to your left, come back to neutral, and then lean over to your right and come back to neutral. You'll notice that David has his hands on his hips to help maintain his balance, while Trisha is reaching her arm out to the side that she's leaning in order to increase the demand on the muscles of her lower back. Great work here. One more from side to side. Make sure you're not arching or pinching the muscles in the back, and you're just gently leaning to turn on and activate those muscles. Great work. Go ahead and place the chair off to the side and come to a standing position in the middle of your mat. Now we're going to reprogram ourselves in a standing position. We're going to complete a three-dimensional lunge matrix. Keep your left heel on the ground and take a step forward with your right leg and return. And then take a step forward with your left leg and return. You'll notice that for the modified version, David is keeping his hands on his hips for increased balance, but he's making sure to keep his back heel on the floor and his back leg straight. Trisha's completing the more advanced version, keeping the back heel on the floor, but reaching her arms up overhead. Return. One last one on the left side, and return. Now we're going to complete our frontal plane lunge. Take a step out to the right with the right leg, keep the left leg straight, and return. Take a step out to the left leg, bend the left knee, and return. Make sure the leg you're stepping onto is bending and you're pushing your hips back to activate your glutes. Take a step out to the left and return. One last one to the right, big reach, return, and one last one to the left and return. Now we'll complete our transverse or rotational lunges. So take a rotational step out with your right leg, bend that right knee, and then return to the center of your mat, and then take a rotational step out with the left leg and return. You'll notice that David is taking a slightly smaller step and also continuing to maintain his hands on his hips. Make sure you are in a safe, controlled environment for these exercises. Trisha's taking a larger step, reaching overhead, and creating length through her spine and her hips. Great job. We're going to finish with our modified sun salutations. Start in the center of your mat, feet shoulder width apart. Take a deep inhale as you slightly bend your knees, reach your arms up overhead, and then exhale, drop your hands down to your side. Deep inhale, slight bend, reach your arms up overhead, create length through your spine, and exhale, relax your hands back down to your side. Continue at a nice controlled pace. Inhale, lift. Exhale, palms down, arms down to your side. Inhale, reach up. Create a little bit more length each time. Lower your arms back down to your side. One last one. Inhale up, hold at the top, arms back down to your side. You've now completed the neuromuscular re-education module.